Well, hi everyone and welcome back. There's something I want to show you. It's something we don't often see here in England, especially not this time of year. If my cameraman's able to catch it. We've got a blue sky. What a rare treat. And with that blue sky, it's slightly warmer, so that's really nice to work with. And as a result of that slightly warmer weather, it's going to allow me to do a job on the outside of the car, which I've been putting off. Now, this video was part requested by Johan Thomsen. He wanted to know how to remove the side skirts, and they've been done in two parts. The first part was covered in a previous video, which is the skirt from the side of the door, and today we're going to remove the full skirt from the bottom of the car. Now, this is a slightly more advanced video than the previous ones we've done. You're going to need a few more tools, but hopefully they're tools that are already part of your toolkit, because they are relatively basic tools. As we go through, I'm going to show you how things are done, but also why we're doing them the way we're doing them. Now, there is a small apology I have to make before we start this video. These cars are old now, and if you're in a damp climate, you're going to have problems doing this job. I can almost guarantee that you're going to be breaking bolts, and that's just an unfortunate part of doing this job. The good news is that doesn't mean that your car is damaged or not repairable. A broken bolt can easily be drilled out, hopefully by yourself if you've got the right tools and abilities, but if not, you can just drive it along to the local garage or local mechanic, an engineering shop. There's probably 100 places near to you where they'll be able to drill out the broken bolts for you, and then you can just order replacements from Mitsubishi. Now, the reason I specify Mitsubishi and not just any regular bolt is because the bolts that hold in the bottom of the side skirt have a particular shape to them, which stops the plastic being gripped in a way that's going to damage the plastic. So please make sure that you get the right bolts, particularly for the bottom of the side skirt. They are a couple of pounds a piece. They're not that cheap compared to a regular bolt, but if you love your car and you want to make sure it stays in good condition for the future and holds its value, then it's worth spending those extra few bucks now to make sure it's got the value in the future. And let's face it, these cars aren't likely to go down in value now. I've watched over the last 5 years, they've been slowly increasing bit by bit by bit, and if you're lucky enough to have a rust-free model, all original, untouched, in perfect condition, you are pulling in some serious money on these cars now compared to what they were. And I've also noticed the people that have messed with the cars, tried to modify them, upgrade them, replaced the wrong bolts, broken clips, all sorts of things like that. The value of your cars are going down and down and down. So a small investment now is going to pay off in the long term. So looking at the tools you're going to need for this job, as I said, you may need a couple of extra tools compared to normal. You may not need all of these tools. I'm just trying to prepare for what I know is likely to happen with this job. I've done a number of these in the past, and you get bolts that won't come out, bolts that snap, and I'm going to try to show you a couple of techniques that might help to salvage or make the job a bit easier. So let's look. You're going to need your regular socket piece. Now, I'm going to suggest that you go for a large one because some of the bolts are going to be really, really tight. And if you use your little mini ratchet, there's a chance you might break it under the tension. So use a good, solid ratchet piece. On the end of that, you're going to need a 10mm socket. And it may help to have a short extension, but it's not necessary. It might just save your knuckles should the bolt break and you'll wrap your knuckles on the side of the car. So that's that. On your small socket, you're going to need an 8mm piece, and you may need an extension rod or a couple of extension rods of different pieces, different sizes to get into certain places. In addition to that, a couple of screwdrivers. Because my videos are for the man at home and not the man in the garage with all the fancy tools and ramps and everything, we're going to be working on the ground for this job. It is possible to do it on the ground, but of course it gives you limited space, and with limited space you may need limited tools. A small stubby screwdriver might help if you can't get a larger screwdriver under there. you're going to need a small screwdriver with a flat tip, approximately 4mm tip on there. And make sure it's a good one, because you're going to be undoing plastic with this. And if your tip is a bit damaged, you're just going to damage the plastic. You're also going to need a 17mm socket piece. It helps if you've got a long body one or an extension on there on a standard one, but you can do it with just a regular 17mm socket piece. You may well need a trim tool, something you can get behind and lever some of the clips out. And finally, you may need a large pair of cutters. This will become apparent as we go along if I need them for the job. If not, I'll show you what you may need to use them for. So that's all the tools you're going to need. All of these tools are regular DIY tools, they're not specialist tools, and throughout all of the videos I'm hoping that I can show you how to do every single job on this car, be it basic interior trim to an engine rebuild, with nothing more than $100 worth of tools. So let's carry on. I'm just going to show you first of all the back of this side skirt. Now the reason I want to show you this is if you know how the thing's put together in the first place, it's going to help you when you're taking it apart. Now you may well notice that there's a few clips missing here. Generally most of these clips are plastic ones, and they will come out mostly without any damage, but some of them are going to break like this, and this is purely down to the age of the clips and the plastic becoming brittle. You don't need to worry about that. All of these clips are now available aftermarket for just a few pence a piece. In the early days when Mitsubishi first brought these out, you were having to pay a few dollars per clip, and it was terrifying. If you've got 15-20 clips that are broken, it's costing you a lot of money. But that's not a problem anymore. You'll also notice here a couple of these by the clip hole, it says bolt. Now this is really, really important, because I've seen so many of these broken because people don't know that there's a bolt behind here. And when it doesn't come undone with a trim tool, they just yank the things and end up breaking either the side skirt or the bolt itself. And the same goes for this end. So all the way along we've got clips, and you're going to need to remove all of those clips. And along the bottom, you'll notice we've got a whole row of bolt holes. They're all going to need to be undone, and these are the ones that are becoming the problem, specifically for those people in a damp climate, because the moisture collects in your I'm having a word blank, in your seal, and when that water forms in the seal, the bolts rust. So I can almost guarantee that you are going to be breaking bolts today. Nothing to worry about, we'll replace all of those. So let's look at the job. Now, as I've said, this is a DIY job. The man on the street can do it, and if you're working on the street or in your yard, you're not going to have a professional car ramp. So we're going to do this at a basic level. You're going to need to jack the front of your car. You can even use your original car jack. You don't need anything special, and that's what I've done here to keep it simple. And you're going to need to remove your front wheel. So I'll leave you to do that, and I'll come back to you in a minute. I've already done it because there's no point in wasting video time showing you how to replace a wheel. So give me a minute and I'll be back with you. Okay, so with your wheel removed, we're going to start at the front end here. There's a couple of pieces you're going to need to remove from under the arch. This particular model has mud flaps. That's what we call them here. So we're going to need to remove that first. To do that, there's just 2 screws and a clip. The first screw at the bottom here. Now these are nearly always rusted in, but I'm going to give it a go, and if that doesn't work, we'll try and find another way of getting it out. Make sure you get some really good purchase on it. As expected, that one's not going to come. So what we're going to do instead is there's a 10mm bolt at the top. Let's undo the 10mm bolt, and I'll show you why in just a second. This one's coming nice and easy. Or is it? This is not going to be an easy job on a rusty car. Okay, so that's one out. You can see the years and years of rust building up on these things, and I'd recommend that you replace all these rusty ones with nice new bolts. Now, from experience, I know that normally this screw down here is rusted to the mud flap rather than to the car, and quite often by turning the mud flap it will turn the screw to loosen it, and by going round and round in circles, if it will allow you to go, you can normally work it all the way out. And I was right, it is rusted to the mud flap. Just watch your paint work when you spin it round. Luckily our paintwork doesn't matter too much on here because this car's going to be resprayed. So I finally got this mud flap off, or mud guard, or splash guard, whatever you want to call it, and I just wanted to show you so there's no smoke and mirrors. After I managed to turn it a number of turns, it seemed that it wasn't actually the screw undoing. What it was the plastic clip behind was all getting chewed up. All the same, it did mean that I could get this off without doing any damage to the car, and all I need to do now is cut this plastic away and just put a fresh clip in its place. However, this mud guard has gone really hard and brittle and has split there, so I'll be putting on a new one. So now there's a few more bolts we need to do, all with 10mm head. What we're looking to do is remove this piece of plastic splash guard under here. We don't need to remove the whole lot, just this first thin section. So we've got a bolt here. Oh, and that's another one snapped, as I expected. You're going to see lots and lots of these breaking as we go along. I do envy you people in the nice warm climates that don't have this problem. Then we follow it up. There's one just underneath the wheel arch here. Okay, again all the thread is all rusted up. Then I'm sure there was another one here somewhere. Yep, we've got another one under the wheel arch here. And then there's just one more over here. Okay, we'll come back to that in a minute. I don't actually need the ratchet anymore for a moment. Now I want to show you a little clip that is used to hold in some other parts on the car. In my pocket here. So these little clips are used all over the car, specifically to hold in plastic panels. Now these are a little bit strange because when you put them through the hole, they go nice and narrow to allow it through the hole. Once it's through the hole, you push this in and then it opens that up to stop the panel coming out. But to get them out is a bit of a process. If you push on the screw while you're trying to undo it, it won't undo like a regular screw. You can see it just keeps popping back in as I push on it. And you'll also notice it appears to be a Phillips head, but it's a very, very shallow hole and a Phillips won't actually sit in there. What I find works much better is a flathead screwdriver and just use it like a normal flathead screw. And instead of pushing on the screw, you need to let it almost follow its own way out. As you unscrew it, rather than pushing in, just let it work its own way out. And when it gets to a certain point, you can just pull it with your fingers. Either pull it all the way out or just pull it so it's just a little bit in like that. And then the clip will be able to come out. So let's tackle a few of those underneath now. I'm hoping my cameraman can get under here. Okay, so we've got one just here. Okay, so get the screwdriver on there and just let it almost fall out the hole as you undo it. As it tries to come towards you, you move away from it. It's going to seem a little bit finicky, but it will all come out quite easily if you're just patient. Just like so. Another one just here. Now if you get any of these where the head is rounded off and you can't get a screwdriver in there, what you can do is use your little pick tool and try to dig behind it and just try and pull this little screw piece out. And if that doesn't work, you can get a pair of cutters behind there, and if that doesn't work, just get a Stanley knife or something and just cut the head off and then drill the rest out, or just drill it out completely. Okay, another one up here. Right, you see that one, just the screw came out, but all you need to do is put your fingers behind the plastic trim and you can pull it down now, and then that'll come with it. These are fully reusable, but once they start to get chewed up, they're worth replacing. They're only cheap now. And then there's another one just here. And that, I believe, is it. Now we can get our fingers behind this trim and just pull it out. It's really, really flexible. You're not going to do any damage to it. They don't go old and brittle like much of the other plastic on these cars. And that's the first piece out. Now, just at this point, the camera's going to be moving backwards and forwards at some point, and you'll notice some of the stuff that I'm using here is branded stuff. I won't even say the name, you can read it in the background. I just want to point out that no one is paying me for any of this promotion or anything. This is purely just my own tools that I use. So don't think that because I'm using it, you need to go out and get it, or think that anyone's paying me for this promotion. Right, so the reason we needed to gain access behind here is, as I said to you, a couple of just wait for the ambulance to go past. Okay, behind this panel here is something a lot of people don't know about, and usually they think that these are your regular press-in type clips, and then they try yanking this thing off and the next thing you know is they've broken this side skirt. So I'm going to swap places with my cameraman so he can show you why it was important to get behind this panel. I'm hoping we have enough light under here. If not, I'll grab a light. Yeah. So just here where my middle finger is, you'll see that there's a bolt coming through there, and that bolt goes through to the front of this side skirt, and we're going to need to undo that. Now just with my fingers I can tell that that is severely rusted on there, and there's a good chance we're going to break it, but the beauty is the clip can be replaced. The side skirt, when it's damaged, is far more expensive. So let's try undoing that, and to do that you're going to need your 8mm socket piece, ideally a long bodied one because there's quite a long shaft on that screw. So I'll see if I can get to this with the cameraman still there. I will be absolutely shocked if this comes undone without breaking. Now sometimes what happens, if they become so rusted, what will happen is it will twist within the side skirt itself, and if that happens I'm afraid there's nothing else you can do about it. I'm almost hoping this does break. Let's have a look, see if it is undoing. No, that's not undoing, so I'm guessing that's twisting within the side skirt, and there's nothing we can do about that now. But the fact that it's twisting means that we should be able to pull this away without any damage, I hope. So now we need to move on to the back of the car. Now to complete the next piece, just as that bolt is hidden behind there, we've also got some more hidden behind here. And to get to those bolts, we're going to need to remove the interior quarter panel. Now in a previous video I showed you how to do this, so if you refer to that previous video on interior rear quarter panel removal, you'll know how to do it. And once the panel's removed, you're going to need to remove your seat belt. So for this you'll need a 17mm socket, and your ratchet handle, and then down here you've got a single bolt. And just to make things a bit easier, unplug from the electronics. Oh, sorry, I missed one screw behind here, if you're able to see that. Okay, so that now gives us access. So you'll see behind here now, we've got one bolt just here, and on the other side, just slightly higher, is another bolt up in there. Which you can't quite pick up on the camera, but I can assure you it's there. So if you now get those two nuts off the bolts, this is the other ones that most people don't know about, but without taking them up you're going to do damage. There's one, just a simple 8mm nut. And here of course is where your long extension bar comes in, because you're going to struggle to get in there without it. Unfortunately, that's another one that feels like it's rusted on there, and all it's doing is spinning within the side skirt. So we'll have to possibly break that one in order to get it out. Now we move outside. I do believe I warned you that unfortunately with this side skirt removal, so much of this has become rusted over the years that so many bolts are going to break as we're going along, or you're going to round off the heads and have to drill them out, or get someone to drill them out for you. Now we're moving under the car, and what we've got along here is one screw at this end, at the back end. We can get the camera under here, and then there should be a whole row of bolts all the way along. So I'm going to start with the screw at the back end, and I can almost guarantee that this screw, like so many others, will be rusted in. Yeah, as I expected. But the good thing about this one is it screws in to a plastic insert on the back here behind the mudguard. So here's where your wire cutters come in. If you get a nice big pair of wire cutters, you'll be able to cut away the plastic that screw goes into. And once the plastic's removed, I'm hoping the screw will come out. The more plastic you cut away, the easier it will be. And the beauty of this is the plastic insert is easily replaceable. In fact, it looks like most of the screws rusted away as well. I think this is a car that I should have not bothered with doing this demonstration. I should have used a nice new one, but of course if I'd used a nice rust-free one, you wouldn't have seen some of the problems that you're going to have trying to get it apart. That still doesn't want to come out, but because the plastic's now missing, that should, I hope, just tap out with a hammer. It still doesn't want to know. Okay, I'm going to come back to that one in a few minutes. So now we'll start going along the line with the others. So, first one. Oh, that one turned. Oh, and it snapped. As expected. Second one. Notice there's already one missing, so I'm guessing someone else has already had a go at this. And snap that one off. Two is two. Now there's a rare treat. There's one that didn't break, and you can see it's got a slight lip on it, and that fits within the plastic hole, so you don't actually do damage to your side skirt. So that's a rare thing to see in this country. They're nearly always rusted in and have to be drilled out. So now we'll move on to the next one. Further along. Oh, snapped, of course. And the next one. And of course another snapped one. Now if the cameraman can just come around the other side a minute. I just wanted to point out that up this end you only need to do the one nearest to the front. The next two hold in the wing and not the side skirt, so you don't need to undo those two, just the one at the front and the one after the next two. I'm having a different problem with this one in that it's been done up so tight that it's pulled its way through the plastic, and now I can't get onto the head of the bolt. So what I'm going to do, I think, is see if we can tap it on. May do a small amount of damage to the plastic. That's it. Let's try again. Oh, and that one snapped. And then the final one right at the front here. Okay, we've got a second one out without breaking. That's actually a good success rate. I normally have 100% breakages on these. So you can see now the side skirt comes down, but we're still left with some clips behind here and some clips at the back. Now, depending on how good this job's going to be to me, all we should need now is our trim tool and a little reminder where the clips are on the back of here. Now, if you recall, we had a couple of bolts I couldn't undo because they were spinning inside the side skirt due to rust. And what's going to happen is they'll be spinning behind here. In some cases actually break this off, but the fact that we saved one for sure and we've got a plastic clip on this side, chances are we're going to get that back on without any real problems. So now we've just got to pull this trim away. We also had that screw at the bottom that's given us some trouble, but I'm not going to worry too much about that one because I cut all the plastic away from behind and all that should be holding that in now is dirt. So I'm going to get my trim tool between the skirt and the bodywork and see if I can lever that screw out, or what's left of it. Okay, so that one came. Now we've just got the clips behind here, one of which we know is likely to break. So wherever you can get your tool in, we're going to just try and lever that away. Yeah, that one's going to hold and be a problem for us. All I did then was pulled from the bottom, and it's pulled everything out except that one bolt that I'm afraid of doing damage here. Closer we can get the trim tool to where the bolt is. Yeah, perfect. I've mentioned before, with my trim tools, the metal ones, I always put some tape around them so they don't scratch any bodywork when you rub them up against bodywork. So there's the one that we took the nut off, there's the one that we couldn't get the nut off, and it's done some minor damage to that clip, but we've still got the other two to hold it. So I'm just going to rest that in there for a moment while we do the front one. And remember, we're going to have the same issue with the front one because that one bolt that wouldn't come out. If you take more time on it, you might be able to get some WD-40 or something similar to eat away the rust, and maybe you'll be able to undo it. But in my experience, it doesn't usually work for these. Same as before, grip underneath, chances are that'll just pop straight out, apart from the one bolt we've got stuck. Get your trim tool in there as close as you can to the bolt. And it's off. Luckily this one we did no damage whatsoever. So now we'll be able to cut the broken bolt out, put a new clip in here, a screw-in clip, and we're ready to go again. So I apologise that wasn't the prettiest of jobs. Ideally I would have liked to have shown you on a nice new car where everything undoes just as it should. But that's not likely to happen unless you're living in Arizona or Texas or Florida, somewhere nice and warm and dry. But here we have so many problems with the moisture getting in and everything rusting. But all the same, we've got this off without any damage to the skirt itself. It's fully reusable, and that's how you do it. So once again, thanks for watching. Thanks to Johan Thomsen for requesting this video. I hope it helps you out, Johan. I don't remember which country you're in, but from your name I'm guessing you're probably in one of the Nordic countries, so you're likely to have this problem. What else can I say? If you want me to do a video for you, please request it. Give me your name, not just your screen name and the country you're from, and I'll do my best to produce a video for you for what you need to know. So that's it. Thanks for watching today. Remember to like, remember to subscribe, and click on the bell once you've subscribed and you'll get automatic updates of when new videos become available. Thanks for watching.